Some Democrats are saying, I don't know about Tim Walz running for governor again, trying to run it back for a third time. Where are you on this? 651-461-9226. I'd especially love to hear from Democrats. Because I get it, man. 3 times is tough. We get sick of people, don't we? I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I've been thinking about that, right? Like, just because are we just bored? Is our attention span just been eliminated by TikTok? We can't, the idea of a third term, and you're looking at, for the governor of Minnesota, you're looking at, years 9, 10, 11, 12. Is it that? Is it fatigue? Is it that we know you so well, we sort of know the bit, and we want, just like in other parts of our life, we want like the new, fresh, different sort of thing? Or is it more about some of the liabilities? I got to tell you, if I were a Democrat, I would not be thrilled, even though I do think if you're a Democrat, you're pretty happy with the job that Tim Walz has done as governor. I also think the hate that Tim Walz gets is absolute lunacy. Now, this is our world today, right? Like, nobody's okay or does a fine job, or I disagree with him on some issues, but the state, whatever. No, it's you're Kim Jong Walz and you're the worst in the, it's just so stupid the way that we talk about these things. But there are some Democrats who are going on the record. That's what I thought was interesting. And the reason it's interesting is because there is still a long time before you hit a potential primary. So I wonder if some of this is wishful thinking by some prominent Democrats of saying, maybe if we make some noise now, he'll change his mind, or someone will primary him. Now, some of the people quoted in this Star Tribune story, which the headline says Governor Tim Walz's bid for a third term put some Democrats on edge. And, it's always like, all right, like, you got 3 Democrats quoted in here. Is that a thing? Or is that just a couple of Democrats sort of worried about this? But to me, if you as an elected official, as a Democrat, are willing to go on the record saying like, I have some concerns. That is what State Senator Judy Seeberger said. She's from Afton. We've had her on the show before. She won her election by like a couple handfuls of votes. So it's pretty close over there. She said she's supporting him. He's a phenomenal partner, but her quote is, a lot of us who have sort of talked about it are hoping that it's the right decision that he's running again. Are you kind of over it? Jeff is in St. Paul. And is it a bad thing to be like, been there, done that, bought the T-shirt, I'm good? Jeff is in St. Paul. You're on CCO. Jeff, what do you think about that?
Hello, Jason.
Hello.
Yeah, I know you're not a Democrat, but I am a Democrat, and I'm fine with Tim Walz running for a third term because aside from his apparently not paying or trusting his colleagues too much to run the government, he's done some amazing things for Minnesota. All right. And I really would like him a chance, and we're going to need somebody like him who can stand up to the administration for at least the next 2 years. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the fact that it's just a third term doesn't bother me at all. I'd rather go with, I'm starting like a Republican. I'd rather go with somebody I know. Yeah, and I'm going to brand new and sparkly.
Jeff, I'm going to send this audio to every right winger who comes at me all the time and calls me a raging liberal. That Jeff in St. Paul, a Democrat, said, we know you're not a Democrat, Jason. I do think.
Come on, Jason, you just confessed it. Come on. We didn't have to waterboard you at all.
You raised, I think, the strongest defense that a Tim Walz campaign has right now, which is this is not the time for an on-the-job training if you want leadership to push back against what the federal government and what the Trump administration is doing. I do think that's a pretty good argument to make for staying the course.
I mean, if we have to secede and join Canada, or we have to go to war with North Dakota, don't you want Tim Walz in charge of that?
Yeah, I think probably nobody better to lead us into that battle. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. 651-461-9226. Walz is going to be hammered by the fraud scandals. It's a huge liability, says a texter. Are there no other Democrats in waiting? Tim Walz is the only choice? Come on. I do think the problem with the idea of, like, do you go to somebody else? There are tons of Democrats who would be excellent candidates because, let's be real, who are the people who have kind of been elected in statewide races before? Well, since Pawlenty, it's been Democrats. So you have people who've won statewide who are Democrats, zero Republicans. That said, I think Tom Emmer, who ran for governor before, would be a formidable candidate on the Republican side. Let's go to Jeff in Sauk Rapids. Jeff, what do you think? I mean, the fatigue is part of it, but I think you're in Sauk Rapids. Some of the concern for Democrats are more in the greater Minnesota area where they're saying, people are they're over it with Walz.
Yeah, we need Democrats. We've been, particularly Democratic in greater Minnesota. I fear, first of all, the unprecedented third term. I fear that Walz might be making the same mistake Biden did by pulling out of the race too late. And I like Walz. I'd vote for him if he was on the ticket, but I think the sticking around too long, and especially with all this fraud stuff, boy, he's going to have a little bit of an uphill climb, I think.
Yeah.
And rather than lose it, let's get somebody else and try it that way.
Jeff, thank you. 651-461-9226. Let's break. Lots of texts coming in. Democrats going on the record saying, a little nervous about it. Where are you at? Especially want to hear from Democrats, because I think Jeff's point is right on the money that if Governor Walz were to change his mind and decide not to run, you don't want to wait too long. But I mean, it's November, right? Like we got a year. I feel like how much time do we need? I don't know. 651-461-9226. Blois Olson's going to weigh in on this in just a minute on CCO.
This is Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO.
You are never going to guess what I had for dinner the other night. I know. You're going to be absolutely shocked. Dan Cook is sitting there thinking, gosh, could you guess? Do you think you could guess what I had for dinner?
I think I could get pretty close.
No.
I'm going to go with pork loin.
Ooh. It's a pork chop. It was a pork chop. You're
very
close.
One of those two.
Yeah.
Flip the coin, I missed.
I mean, you knew it started with P and ended with orc. I mean, so you had that head start for sure. It's Jason here for our Minnesota pig farmers, 3,000 of them every corner of the state, and the Minnesota Pork Board. There is no doubt that flavor is on the table, and pork is part of the equation. Taste what pork can do. .com is the website, and there are so many great ideas on there. This weekend, I was visiting a friend who just opened a barbecue restaurant, and he had racks and racks and racks of pork ribs, just kind of doing their thing in the smoker over there at Animales. You know, there's a reason more and more chefs are putting pork chops on the menu. Pork loin is part of the DeRusha dinner menu all the time. So easy, so quick, so full of flavor, so delicious. Get to taste what pork can do. Go to your grocery store, go to your butcher shop. Let's have Minnesota pork for dinner tonight.
Mike Rowe here with a fun fact. Did you know that 50% of the air that you breathe inside your home comes from your crawl space?
Yeah. Whether your crawl space is wet, musty, or your floors are bouncy, do yourself a favor. Call Groundworks. I spent some time working with these guys, and they're the real deal. Their people are trained and certified to repair your crawl space. Innovative Basement Authority is now Groundworks. Schedule a free inspection.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free no-risk consultation. 800-284-1238. 800-284-1238. You have nothing to lose, but everything to gain. 800-284-1238.
As the owner, coach, and quarterback of your small business, you call the shots. From inventory to payroll and more. Now it's time to bring in LendSeek, your funding MVP. No delay of game here. Get up to $2 million in as fast as 24 hours for business lines of credit or term loans. Let LendSeek's AI marketplace assist you in making the winning play and score that touchdown. Apply at lendseek.com, LENDSEEK.com.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Ever wonder why Big Wireless wants you on an unlimited plan? They probably want you to cover the cost of those 20-somethings using all that data every month. But most people 50 and up like me only use 12 gigs or less. Don't get bamboozled by Big Wireless. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Our plans start at just $20, and we use the same towers as the big guys. Join the millions who choose something better, because if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
You're listening to Drive Time with DeRusha. Video streaming live on YouTube and always on your radio at News Talk 830 WCCO.
Texters reacting to this report that some Democrats are concerned that Tim Walz may not be the best candidate going for a third term. Texter says, eerily similar to running Biden again, when he was not the best card to play. But all the other cards were suppressed. Put another candidate forward now and start building momentum, says a texter. Let's go to Blois Olson. He is part of the Morning Take every morning on Vanita's show, the Sunday Take, right here on Sundays on CCO, and joins us with a special Drive Time Take. Blois, what do you make of this? I was a little surprised to have a couple elected official Democrats on the record in this Star Tribune story.
Good afternoon, Jason. It's not surprising that Democrats finally came out and said something. This is the quiet part out loud that I've been hearing for a few months, even when he was considering whether or not he was going to run again and looked like he was waffling. The reality is that it takes something to be exciting for 12 years. And I think some of these suburban Democrats, outstate Democrats, are worried that the energy isn't going to be there. I also think, last week, Jason Chavez, Minneapolis City Council member, said he thought somebody should challenge Governor Walz from the left. These are the challenges of being in a party that has diverse views, but it's also the challenge of trying to, be governor for 12 years.
Yeah, it is. Some of this is I think we get weary. We have short attention spans, and we want something fresh. The other part that I think is real is like your record is a mile long. I mean, so you just have so many. Yes, you could have, you could have 80% positive things, but those 20% negative things are a lot. In fraud, I think there's no way, especially with new revelations every day. Like, how do you get out from underneath that?
So I just think that one of the conversations I've privately had with Democratic members for a couple of years is, why don't you push back publicly? Why don't you differentiate? That used to be the way political parties worked. And we've seen in both parties Republicans don't dare challenge Trump. And in Minnesota, Democrats haven't dared challenge Governor Walz. Part of it is the personality. Part of it is we're winning.
Right.
We had the trifecta. Wasn't it great? But they do see the reality in their districts. They go to the cafe, they go to church, and people are like, I don't know. And then I also think that there's a certain culture that's been built in Walz's world that is, don't dare criticize me, or, I'm going to hold a grudge, or my team's going to hold a grudge. And so I think that's why it took this long for it to come out. But privately, this is real. And by the way, they all have cited, look what happened to Dean Phillips on the Biden front. That was a real political consequence, and they're worried about it. The last factor that goes to kind of the Jason Chavez piece is, you have some challenges from the left. Ron Latz in St. Louis Park, Hopkins area, he has a challenge from the left. When Ron Latz was elected to the Senate, he was by far a very liberal member. Now he's moderate. The party has just shifted that much.
Blois Olson is with us. What do you think's more likely, that someone challenges, that there's a primary challenge from the left, or another sort of, I guess Walz would be considered would he be considered a centrist today? I don't know. It depends where you're anchoring that center at.
I think there's a 30% chance sometime between now and March or April, Walz doesn't run. I think there's also a third that he gets a challenge from the left, and a third he gets a challenge from somebody, similar to him. I think after, this November's elections, they're looking at, where are people standing? What are we looking at? The goal of the DFL, especially since they're going to have a primary in the Senate race, is to be unified, because that helps with fundraising and all those things.
Right.
But I think it's getting more and more challenging.
Texters are saying, Jason, I voted for Walz twice, will likely do so again, but with vastly less enthusiasm. I think the fraud will be so hard to defend. Another texter who is a liberal says Walz needs to say, yes, fraud has been going on, but look who has been finding it and prosecuting it. He needs to lean into that. I think he's been trying to make that case that the administration has, and I think it's fair to say they've been pretty good at finding it. They've been pretty terrible at preventing it, though.
Too little, too late. It is simple that the Walz administration did not take fraud serious fast enough for anybody to feel like they really did it. Why did it take him years, literally years, to say, we're going to use AI, we're going to stop payments? And we're not talking about months. We're talking about years. And I think that's why it's indefensible. The other piece about this is, and I wrote this in July, and I still believe it largely to be true, until there's somebody on the Republican side that can beat Walz, if you're Tim Walz, why wouldn't you run again?
Yeah.
And so he's still in the pole position when it comes to, his reelection.
Does Lisa Dameth change the equation at all, or is she not a big enough force at this point to be someone who would say, make Tim Walz say, I'm going to bow out?
There's got to be poll numbers. There might have to be
data. Yeah.
some other issues. There's got to be some, it's never just one thing. There's going to have to be a series of things that are out there. I think there's going to be new candidates coming to run on the Republican side as well.
Good stuff, Blois. We appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem, Jason.
Blois Olson here on CCO. Texter saying Jason Chavez is not the greatest barometer of the DFL. Well, that is certainly true, but I do think this is a sentiment I've seen quite a bit from DSA, aligned and affiliated Democratic Socialists, members of the Democratic Party. I don't know. All I can guarantee is it's going to be interesting. Like, don't think it's over. Don't think this is locked down here on November 24th. I think we're going to see more changes for sure.